Hey everyone, Big Pauly back for a brand new video. Yeah, a brand new Star Trek First Contact Day video. Earlier on today, you saw my complete Blu-ray and 4K collection of Star Trek movies. But for now, it's time to do something I have not done before. A Star Trek movie ranking. That's right, we're going to rank all of the Star Trek films right from number 13 down to number 1. So as always, set your phasers for stun and let's get into it. Okay, so let's begin the ranking. I've moved over here so I can post some posters over there. Okay, let's start with the film at the bottom of the list. The final film for the Next Generation crew. This is Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah, this is a bit of a mishmash to do with Romulans. Romulans and Federation peace treaty. We've got Tom Hardy himself playing kind of like a younger clone version of Picard. Ron Perlman is in there, and it's to do with Data as well, and a prototype Data, a B4. And it's just a mishmash. There are some good moments in it. I remember when I first went to see this, I was actually attending the Star Trek London convention at the Hilton. And there was a hotel down the bottom. And it was the opening weekend and we all went down there. And it was okay. But I remember the panel the next day, someone said, so this film is dubbed as one of the most exciting, action-packed Star Trek films that we've had. And the bloke in the audience actually said to one of the producers of the film, where was the action? Yeah, it's a little bit boring at times and overblown, but it's got its high moments. But it also has its low moments as well. But it's the final time that we see Data until later on in Star Trek Picard. So that's last place. That's Star Trek Nemesis. Coming in at 12th position, Final Frontier. Yes, we all know the saying of, you know, the even number films are the best, the odd number films are the worst. In this case, it's pretty rings true. This is directed by William Shatner. This is all about God and Spock's half-brother Cyborg, who wants to break the barrier at the centre of the galaxy and have a chat with God. Basically, there's some funny moments in this. I think they were trying to recreate the comedy that we had in the Voyage Home. Some funny moments between Scotty and Uhura on the Enterprise, but also the campsite scene. Very funny. It has its high points. The campsite scene is hilarious with Bones and his row your boat. Special effects are not up to scratch on this, so I believe this film didn't use Industrial Light and Magic, it used a different company, and you can see that when Kirk falls from Capitan, the special effects are dreadful. You know, it's like he's just dangling on a rope, so it's a shame. And also some of the exterior Enterprise scenes are not that good. The acting is good. There are other great scenes throughout the film. The scenes at the end with confronting their fears and their pain, and the whole McCoy with his father on his deathbed scene, and Spock as a baby, and it's all a very touching. And there's a really nice bit of dialogue with Kirk and Spock. You know, he says, "I lost a brother once. You know, I was fortunate to get him back." So, yeah, there are some good moments in The Final Frontier, but it's a long, blown, drawn out film that could have been better. There's a lot of dull moments, especially down on the Planet of Galactic Peace with David Warner and characters. And I never really had a threat with the Klingons. This Klingon bloke that wanted to defeat Kirk, he was never that scary. So yeah, that's The Final Frontier. That's in position number 12. Okay, next up in 11th place we have the first outing for the Enterprise crew. This is the motion picture. Yeah, whereas The Final Frontier they went looking for God, in the motion picture they go searching for Vija. That's right, this big intelligent mechanical gathering machine that's heading towards Earth, that's going to destroy Earth, vaporize it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and the Enterprise and the crew have to go and find this thing and try and communicate with it and defeat it if they can. But it is huge. It's vaporizing Klingon ships and left, right and centre. Special effects on this are very, very 70s, very retro kind of amusement arcade type. With all these bright kind of like electrical buzzes and lightning strikes and things like that. The effects are good for the time. Also things like the crew's outfits, the uniforms have all changed. I don't think they really had that in much impact until it got to the Wrath of Khan about the Star Trek uniforms. But we've got a handful of newcomers. We have Persis Kambata. We also have Stephen Collins as Decker. And it is a drawn-out film, but the new version, the director's cut, is way better with all the new special features. You know, all the special effects have been redone, or most of them, and it looks a lot better, and it looks great in 4K. And with the, you know, the now very famous Next Generation theme tune, you know, from Jerry Goldsmith, this iconic, yeah. Star Trek the Motion Picture, 11th place. Coming in at 10th place is the third outing for the Next Generation crew. It's Star Trek Insurrection. This was a bit of a weird one. This kind of played out more like an episode from the Next Generation, or a double-parter, you know, a two-parter. It was very down-to-earth, very dialogue heavy, and character driven as well. They basically go to this planet Baku that has these healing powers that can regenerate people and can make people younger. And there's this guy, this alien, that wants basically that power to make himself look younger because his skin's like falling off and he has to stretch it. Yeah, and Data's there as well. Data discovers this little village in Baku where all these people live. There's some good action scenes in it, but it's a bit of a drawn-out film. Some funny scenes in it with Michael Dorn, who plays Worf. But yeah, it's more of a love story. It's kind of a love TV episode, so it's not one of the first ones that I put on. It's still entertaining. It still has its good moments. I think this was the one with Riker, who says, "We're through running from these bastards," and Riker shaves his beard off and gets all horny with Troy again. So yeah, that's Star Trek Insurrection at 10th place. Ninth place is quite an underrated Star Trek film. This is Star Trek Beyond. So this is the third outing for the J.J. Abrams crew, you know, Chris Pine crew. This has Idris Elba. The Enterprise is attacked by like this swarm of like giant bees. Not exactly bees, but you know, it looks like a swarm of bees. Destroys the Enterprise completely. They're down on this planet, and it's a fight for survival. Bones and McCoy have to, you know, fight to survive. They also meet up with a brand new character played by Sofia Boutella, who plays the character Jayla, which I hate that they probably will never use this character again. But I'm hoping that maybe the time span between Star Trek Beyond and hopefully Star Trek 4, when we ever get it, maybe she's gone to Starfleet Academy and she's now a bridge member on the Enterprise. To be perfectly honest, I would like her to replace Anton Yelchin's character. I think it would be perfect. It would be a perfect fit, and she could be a perfect replacement on the bridge of the Enterprise. You know, because of course Chekhov. I think partly Anton Yelchin's passing as to why we have not had a Star Trek 4. Maybe they didn't know where to go or didn't know what to do, but I think she would be a major addition to the Enterprise bridge crew. There's some good action in this film. There's running around the bridge while the saucer sections crashing. Lots of jumping and sliding down the saucer section. And it's a good film. It's a good film. Next up, in 8th position, is the second of the J.J. Abrams films. This is Star Trek Into Darkness. This kind of like echoes The Wrath of Khan. You know, we have Khan. Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. What can I say? A lot of people don't like this film. Peter Weller's in it, RoboCop. He's the captain of the other ship, you know, the big ship. And I like what Benedict Cumberbatch did for this character. It's a completely different Khan than what we got with Ricardo Montalban. But I really enjoy Star Trek Into Darkness. It's a good film. There's lots of action in it. There's some great space battles in it, and we get that really emotional scene at the end that echoes the end of Wrath of Khan. So yeah, that's Into Darkness. 7th place on my list is The Search for Spock. That's right. Spock's died. Now he's back. Yes, they go searching for Spock after he was buried on the Genesis planet that they created at the end of Wrath of Khan. And of course we've got the Klingons, played brilliantly by Christopher Lloyd. And you put a Klingon in a room with Kirk, all they want to do is just kill each other. Yes. And it's all about Kirk and his son David, trying to get to know his son David, but unfortunately you killed my son, you Klingon bastard. But Search for Spock's a good film. Lots of good planetary special effects with like eruptions and volcanoes and that kind of stuff. It's mainly about a father and a son and their relationship and trying to defeat the enemy. So yeah, it's a good film. Good film. 6th position is the final outing of the original crew, the Undiscovered Country. This one has a fantastic opening scene. I mean, it is one of those scenes you have to put your amplifier on or your receiver on and just crank it up with the explosion of Praxis. The music is fantastic. The build-up is fantastic. The Excelsior going through this barrier of explosion is incredible. And we get to see Hikaru Sulu as the captain of the Excelsior. Should have been continued in the Excelsior TV series, but we never got it, even though they pressed for years to try and get this made. Unfortunately, we never got it, so they missed out there. But this is all about conspiracy and races working together, enemies working together, and Kirk and McCoy being put on trial for the attempted assassination of Chancellor Gorkon, and going to Rue Repente, yeah, a prison penal colony, and meeting up with, was it David Bowie's wife at the time? Iman, is it, or Iman? I don't know. I think so. But some good scenes in this, some good... It's kind of a murder mystery. It's kind of a murder mystery it plays out like a whodunit. And really entertaining, some great scenes, some good comedy in it, and a great lineup at the end, you know, great battle at the end against the Klingon bird of prey. And yeah, that scene, to be or not to be, fantastic. And also probably the best closing scene ever for a Star Trek film to wrap up, with the ship going into the distance, and, you know, so this is it, you know. It's just great. It's just a fantastic ending scene, and then all the signatures come up with the music, and it brings a tear to my eye every time. Fantastic. Okay, in 5th position, There Be Whales. Yes, no, not up near, yeah, not in the UK. No, this is the Star Trek The Voyage Home. This is an orbiting probe that is starting to damage the atmosphere and the seas and everything around Earth, because no one's responding to its questions. No one knows how to respond to its questions. Kirk and the crew are coming back from Vulcan on board the Klingon ship, and they intercept this message and basically told, don't bother coming to Earth, this is doomed. We are doomed. After a bit of analysing, they discover that the probe is actually asking whales for directions. I don't know. I'm just making that up. Yeah, and so they determine the only way to answer this probe is to basically go back in time, grab a couple of whales and bring them into the future, drop them off, and what is it? Hope they go and tell this thing what to do with itself. So yeah, for the first time, you know, Star Trek goes all 1980s. We have the colourful metaphors, double dumb arse on you. We have the really cool bloke on the bus with a ghetto blaster, and a lot of comedy. There's a hell of a lot of comedy in this one. We have Catherine Hicks, who's looking after George and Gracie, the whales, in the San Francisco aquarium, Cetacean Institute. Yeah, and yeah, it's just a really great film. And Chekhov and Uhura have to go looking for these protons on board the USS Enterprise, you know, the battleship, in order to regenerate the dilithium crystals so that they can slingshot and get the hell out of there. But it's a really great film. It's a really funny, down-to-earth, happy film. It's probably the most happiest of the Star Trek films. But it also has another great ending. You know, they blew the Enterprise up in the 3rd film, you know, The Search for Spock, and that scene at the end, oh, it chokes you up. It chokes you up. Let's see what she's got. Then we found out. Yeah, so that is The Voyage Home at number 5. Number 4 is the first outing of the Next Generation crew. That's right, it is Star Trek Generations. This was our first introduction to the Next Generation crew on the big screen. It has some great moments in it. The opening spinning bottle is fantastic. You know, you don't know what the hell's going on. Why is there a bottle floating around in space? And then you find out why. You know, they're christening the Enterprise B. We have Alan Rook there as the captain of the Enterprise B, who's kind of like doesn't know really what he's doing, but he's it's the first test run of the Enterprise B around the galaxy. We do have some originals, you know. We have Kirk, we have Chekhov, and we also have Scotty as well. Kind of good luck in the Enterprise B. We also have Malcolm McDowell in the film, who's an El-Orian, who's the same race as Guinan. And his family were killed years and years ago. But he's trying to get to this kind of like electrical stringy thing that keeps flying through space called the Nexus. And it's kind of like a dream state. It's kind of like an alternate reality inside. So you go inside and you like your family will still be alive, or you can go anywhere you want at any time you want. And so he's doing everything he can to get back into the Nexus. Of course, it draws Kirk in as well. Because the Enterprise B at the beginning of the film got caught up in this Nexus. So, of course, there's a shadow, an echo of Kirk in the Nexus. And, of course, Picard and Shatner working together. A lot of great action scenes, fantastic action scenes. Even the Klingons with Bator and Lursa on the Klingon bird ship or in the lowering of the shields. That panning shot with Riker, which just pans to his face and he just says, "Fire." Oh, gives you bloody chills. Absolutely fantastic. Data's hilarious. The parting of the saucer section, fantastic. The crashing, amazing. And absolutely fantastic. It's great. It is a great Star Trek Next Generation film and a great film to start out on. So, yeah, that's Star Trek Generations. That's my fourth choice. Number 3 is our first J.J. Abrams outing. Yeah, this is Star Trek 2009. This is a reboot. This also works as an introduction to non-Star Trek fans into a motion picture for Star Trek, because it's an action adventure film in space. You don't really have to know anything about Star Trek to be introduced, because it introduces us to the characters again. Brilliantly played by all these characters. You know, we have Chris Pine as Kirk. Wow, yeah, just great people, great casting choice. The opening scene, probably the first 10-15 minutes, is one of the first Star Trek films ever to choke me up. When Kirk is born and Thor is sacrificing himself to save his son. It's just really great. And with the music as well. Michael Giacchino or Giacchino, I can never pronounce his last name. And we have Eric Banner as the villain, the Romulan villain there. And fantastic action all the way through. Leonard Nimoy comes into it. You know, we have Spock back. And it's just a really great action adventure. I've probably seen Star Trek 2009 probably more times than any other Star Trek film, because it is a bloody rip-roaring adventure film. And there's this one scene where there's another, with the dialogue, there's another ship coming in. It's the Enterprise. And it just, the music, dun, 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 and all these little photon torpedoes and lasers. And then all of a sudden, the Enterprise bursts through and starts shooting. And then it goes into, dun, 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 dun. It gets me every time. Really gets me every time. I get goosebumps, yeah. So, Star Trek 2009, a really great Star Trek film. Yeah, so that is third place. Okay, so we are down to the top two. What can it be? You know which ones are left. Which order are they in? Okay, in second place, we're going to Borg it up. That's right, it is Star Trek First Contact. It was difficult. It was difficult deciding what's first and what's second place, because the top two are incredible films, fantastic films. The opening music theme for First Contact is beautiful. I love the theme tune for First Contact. They're even using it at the end of Picard now in season 3. It's basically the Borg. It's all about the Borg. Picard remembers what happened in Best of Both Worlds in the Next Generation episode. He still feels the Borg and he senses them. And when they come up against, you know, the Starfleet ships and Earth, of course he's got to go. He's got to go to battle them, and he knows exactly where to hit them. And while destroying the Borg are in a bit of a quandary as to what to do. So they send out a Borg sphere with the Borg Queen, and they basically send it back through a time warp back to Earth, so that they can assimilate Earth in the past, and then of course the future won't happen. So yeah, again, as another kind of grounded Star Trek film, whereas in the Voyage Home we went back to the 80s, now we're back to like 2063, and we get to meet Zefram Cochrane, who invented the warp drive, get to witness the first warp signature, you know, the first warp drive, and first contact with Vulcans, and that's where it all began. That's where the whole Star Trek thing began. There's some great hunting around the Enterprise with some dramatic revenge type music. There's some great characters. Alice Krieg played the Borg Queen beautifully, absolutely incredible. We also have Lily as well. I'm trying to remember the actress's name. Alfre Woodard. She played Lily, who was kind of like one of the resistance fighters for Zefram Cochrane on Earth. She gets stuck on the Enterprise, and her and Picard must help each other to defeat the Borg on the ship as they've started to assimilate the Enterprise. And there's that whole scene in the ready room with the little ships. You know, you broke your ship, and you know, the whole speech with, you know, we fall back. You know, the line must be drawn here, no further. That gets me every time. Gives me goosebumps as well. And resistance is futile. It's just got great dialogue. Absolutely fantastic dialogue. It looks beautiful. It's a vicious Borg story. The Borg are more chilling in this than they were ever in Star Trek, and it's one of my favourites. It's one of my favourites. Okay, and number one, of course, it's got to be The Wrath of Khan. Yes. What can I say about this film? The story is fantastic. We have Ricardo Montalban back playing Khan, who was marooned on one of these planets. The orbit changed, so when they went to this planet thinking it was another planet, it was actually the planet they actually marooned Khan on. And Chekhov and Paul Wynyard, I can't remember his name, Paul Winford, I'm not sure, get captured by Khan and get forced to lure Kirk in so that Khan can have his revenge. And it's a cat and mouse chase through nebula and just blowing up shit and attacking each other, and who's going to win. It's just a pure revenge movie. And who can forget that end scene? you know, with Spock. And that sets up the search for Spock, of course. But yeah, it's a truly great film, and like I say, it was really difficult choosing between First Contact and The Wrath of Khan. I think they're both almost on an even plate, but The Wrath of Khan just tipped it just a little bit. There we go. So there we go. That is my ranking of all 13 Star Trek films. Of course, everybody's ranking's going to be different, so it'd be interesting to see what your rankings are. If you don't want to put all 13, just put down your top 3 Star Trek films down in the comments. Like the videos by giving them some thumbs up. Blah, 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 blah. Don't forget to subscribe, comment and share. Live long and prosper. And I'll see you on the next video once I beam myself up. Bye! I'm off to find some whales now.